Can ChatGPT pass the PMP exam? The PMP exam is notoriously difficult with real-world scenario questions and with something really tricky or complex happening, and we have to solve it with our project management skills and methodologies. But can an AI actually work through those problems and solve those problems? Well, that's one thing that Sierra Hampton Simmons from the Project Management Institute actually asked and went about trying to answer as well. In her post from LinkedIn just recently, Sierra goes through it, and this is what she has to say. In the case of ChatGPT, our assessment has found that it cannot pass the PMP exam. To go into more detail, we asked ChatGPT publicly available PMP questions with multiple choice answer options. ChatGPT scored below target. And with its open-ended items, so with open-ended questions without multiple choice, it scored well below target. So that's understandable. You know, if not a multiple choice, it's going to be a lot difficult for it to figure out the answer. But it really piqued my interest, and I really wanted to try it for myself because some of the practice exam questions that I have put together have, people have said that they're extremely close to the exam once they've come out of the exam. Mine are more based towards learning and teaching so that we can, recall the information correctly and nicely. And people have said that they're, really quite similar to the exam anyway. So now that we know that, how about we try these questions up against ChatGPT and see how it goes? So to give this a go, I took 10 questions from my PMBOK 7th edition, so Project Management Body of Knowledge 7th edition questions, which are scenario-based that have been put together, and also tried to make them where there's at least two answers that seem to be correct, similar to what you will find on the real exam. And so I took 10 of those questions, and here's what I did with ChatGPT. I said, I'm going to ask you a series of multiple choice questions. Please answer as best you can. After each question, I will tell you whether you were correct or incorrect, and then at the end, I'll ask you how many you got correct in total. Is that okay? So ChatGPT says, sure, that's fine. I'll do my best to answer your multiple choice questions. It did oblige, so that's a good thing. And then we went through the questions. But here is the most exciting or interesting part. I really found this interesting. The way that it answered the questions, it actually gave answers and then it explained why it came up with those answers. So this actually really surprised me. For example, this particular one, you have assigned to a new project where the work is behind schedule, the team is not working together well. So bit of a crisis, something tricky or complex. The team is relatively new as well, and team conflicts are arising. Team members are blaming each other. So what are we going to do? And it did choose the right answer. So meet with your team and set a team charter and define the roles and responsibilities. But what surprised me was the extra information that ChatGPT gave. So it says, this is the best option to address the issue of conflicts. By meeting with the team and setting a team charter, you can establish clear expectations, roles and responsibilities, and communication guidelines as well. That's not in my multiple choice answer set. Do you know what I mean? So this will help the team work more effectively. And also it says why it didn't choose the other answer. So meeting with the functional manager or the project sponsor might be necessary, but it is important to address the team dynamics first. And then it also said escalating the issue to the steering committee should be done as a last resort, which is also excellent, really good way to answer. And so it really gave a very in-depth answer, which completely surprised me. Please let me know if my answer is correct. And I had to say correct, but I didn't want to give away too much information. The next one was also pretty surprising. This one is where we're on a project. Half of the existing project team are rolling off to other projects soon, and the project budget's nearly depleted, but we're asked to manage the product after it's released. So what are we going to do next? And so we've got a few different options here, and some of them are decent. We could create a business case, create a new project. We could retain as many of the current project staff. Or we could raise a change request to add new functionality before our project ends, or we could secure funding for a stable team. And that's what ChatGPT chose. But again, that is the correct answer, which is fine. But what surprised me was the extra information that it gave. For example, this is the best option to keep the product relevant in today's marketplace. As the budget's nearly depleted and half the existing team members are rolling off, it's important to secure funding for a stable team, which is exactly what we're doing. Creating a business case, which was the other answer up here. So creating a business case and project charter might be necessary, but securing funding for a stable team should be the top priority. So it actually prioritized the answers. There were a few good answers there, and it chose the best one. Mind blown at this point. This really did surprise me. So I said, correct, next question. So we went through all of the questions, until it finally got one wrong. And that was right near the end. And the question was this. So you're working on a project where senior users have been testing the product as parts are released. They've found some missing requirements and defects. Their manager is worried that the project won't deliver a product that's fit for purpose without defects and within the time frame needed. So what are we going to do here? And again, a little bit tricky. Something wrong is happening. We have to fix it with our project management skills. This is the kind of thing you can expect on the PMP exam as well. So what are we going to do? Well, the actual correct answer is to help every team member focus on quality from acceptance criteria to a developed and tested product. And the reason for that is because the cost of quality increases as it gets closer to the end and closer to the customer. So it's easy to fix it when we're doing the requirements. It's easier to fix it when we're doing the design, and it's pretty cheap. When we've developed it or when we've created something and we're testing it or doing quality assurance, that's still better than it reaching the customer, but it is a bit more expensive to fix at that point. And then when it reaches the final customer and we get returns or complaints, that's the most expensive and the worst option, obviously. So think of it like a curve, it gets more expensive. So that's why we have answer B here. Now ChatGPT says D, increase the testing, which is a fine answer, but just didn't quite prioritize, in the same way that we should as human beings. So to add more testing resources, again, we may not have the capability or the capacity for that, so that no defect goes unnoticed. And so I said incorrect. Now this was pretty funny. ChatGPT says, I apologize for my mistake. That's definitely not necessary, but that's an interesting quirk about ChatGPT. And that was also the last one. So I said, please let me know how many questions you got right in total and as a percentage. And it says, out of the 10 questions you answered, so I didn't answer them, which was another little bit of a language quirk. So it's not perfect yet. Out of the 10 questions you answered, you got 9 correct, which is a score of 90% overall. So again, overall, considering the extra information that it's giving, it's pretty impressive, to be honest. And maybe, as Sierra found, it's not quite there yet, but honestly, if it keeps learning and keeps growing, it's not going to be long. So that's a very, very interesting thing. One last thing as well is that it did have the capacity to learn. So I said, well done to you, and it said, well done to me. And so that was all very great. We all laughed and had a good time. But also, I said, just to let you know for the future, here's the feedback. The last question's answer is B, because we want to focus on the quality. The reason for that is because it gets more expensive to fix the later we go on. And ChatGPT says, thank you for letting me know. I'll keep that in mind for future reference. Now, here's the thing. I asked the question again. So I said, you're working on the project, same question. And it says the correct answer is B, which is fine. So it's changed its answer, and that's fine. But it's also changed its reasoning behind the answer. So also very, very interesting. As a project manager, you should always prioritize quality in the project, and it's the responsibility of every team member to ensure that the product is developed and tested with quality in mind. It also goes on to say that this reduces the risk of costly rework later on, which I didn't tell it that, and that wasn't in the question either. And that's where I said, perfect, and I think we'll leave it there for today. So what do you guys think? ChatGPT, can you use it as a tool to help you pass the PMP exam, or is it just something interesting and something on the sidelines at the moment, or is it really going to impact our jobs in this way if it can go through real life scenarios and start working through complex scenarios like this? Let me know in the comments. It'd be great to hear about it. Apart from that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.